Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the fiscal year 2017 HUD CoC Competition Grant Inventory Worksheet Confirmation Training. This is Elizabeth Perez, and with me I also have Renee. So we are the program managers here at All Chicago. The handouts for this PowerPoint presentation are available, so you should be able to access them via the chat box options. So before we begin, let's go over a few housekeeping items. One, first note that everyone is on mute, so if you are connected via computer or phone, you are on mute and we will not be able to hear you. If you are having trouble with the audio, please switch to the phone dial-in option so you are able to hear us. In the event that you would like to refer to this webinar after we are done, it will be recorded and it will be made available on our website. On your screen, you will see the link to the actual web page where it will be posted. Renee is with me and she will be overseeing the chat box for any questions that are submitted during this presentation. If time allows at the end, we will open it up for some questions. I will ask everyone who has a question to raise their hand, and then I will call on you to unmute you so you may ask a question. So before we start to begin and talking about the GIW, we did want to let everyone know that the due date is this Friday, April 21st, no later than 5 p.m. I understand this is a very quick turnaround time, but we do want to ensure that our GIW is 100% accurate for the upcoming CoC competition. So on your screen, you will see our objectives for this webinar. We will be discussing the grants inventory worksheet and how it's related to the upcoming CoC program competition. I will review the GIW HUD process and also our local confirmation process. I'll also review some instructions and steps in completing the GIW confirmation survey. And finally, I will discuss briefly some of the fiscal year 2017 GIW highlights and reminders, which include program component changes. So let's begin discussing what the GIW is. Each year, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, for many of us that's HUD, releases the GIW for the upcoming CoC program competition. This is a spreadsheet that lists all of our CoC funded projects that are eligible for renewal funding in the upcoming competition. It contains detailed information about each specific project's current contract. So this will include each budget line item that this project has, along with any unit configuration. This document also serves to inform HUD about our CoC annual renewal demand for the upcoming program competition. On your screen, you will see a screenshot of the top of the GIW. For many of you, you should have seen the GIW spreadsheet that was sent in the Monday's email. The annual renewal demand is an estimate of the CoC funding for Chicago that we will be requesting in the upcoming competition. It is crucial that the GIW reflects the current annual renewal demand for each project, since this amount is the same amount that will be requested in the project application once the NOFA is released. So there are some new things that happened in the fiscal year 2017. HUD has changed the process. And one of the big changes has been that HUD has modified the GIW spreadsheet. It was significantly reduced by columns, so you will see a much more condensed GIW spreadsheet compared to previous years. Prior to the release of the GIW, local HUD offices and the HUD's Office of Special Needs Assistance Program, also known as SNAPS, reviewed the GIW to pre-populate it with all the grants that are eligible for renewal funding. They also reviewed data from the fiscal year 2016 GIW, the lock system, and eSnaps in order to review the accuracy of the pre-populated information. Something new this year is that all the GIWs were posted on the HUD Exchange website. You can see the website on your screen right now. So it gives the opportunity for us to review other CoC's GIW, whereas in the past, local HUD had sent the GIW directly to the collaborative applicant of each CoC. As the collaborative applicant, All Chicago will submit any changes reported by utilizing a GIW change form and submit that to the local HUD for review. On your screen, you will see HUD's GIW review process. As you can see from our discussion, that we are in the second step of the process where our CoC and project applicants are reviewing the GIW. Once you have informed of the changes, All Chicago will send the changes to the local field office. They will then review and reconcile the information submitted and send it to the desk officers. The desk officers will implement the changes into the GIW and post the final GIW online. All Chicago will send out an email communication once this has occurred. The GIW is one of the first steps in the upcoming CoC program competition. As previously mentioned, the ARD is the amount in which our CoC is allowed to apply for the upcoming NOFA. Any projects omitted from the GIW will not be allowed to apply for renewal funding. The Notice of Funding Availability, also known as the NOFA, is rumored to be released in May. Once the NOFA is released, All Chicago will provide instructions on the next steps. An important note for any new projects that were awarded in fiscal year 2016, please make sure that this project is included on the GIW even if you have not gone to execute a grant agreement with HUD or if the operating start date is not determined yet. If you need further guidance, please contact the CoC team so we can work with you. Now that we've reviewed HUD's process, let's focus on our internal process for the fiscal year 2016 for the Chicago CoC. As mentioned in the email communication sent on Monday, all agencies are required to review and verify that the GIW information listed for their CoC funded projects is captured accurately. You must submit a fiscal year 2017 GIW confirmation survey for each CoC funded project no later than 5 p.m. this Friday, April 21st. Any project that is not included on the GIW will not be allowed to apply for renewal funding in the upcoming NOFA cycle. On your screen, you will see the link for the GIW confirmation survey. In addition to the link shown on your screen, you will also receive an email with this confirmation link. All submissions are due no later than 5 p.m. this Friday, and you will also be able to access the fiscal year 2017 GIW in the event that you didn't receive Monday's email. Please note that once you click on the hyperlink that says fiscal year 2017 GIW, it will automatically download to your computer. And again, the deadline for all submissions are due no later than 5 p.m. this Friday. So each question on the survey is directly related to a section and column on the GIW. So you will be asked to just verify that the information is accurate. If the data is incorrect or if it is blank, please answer no and provide the corrected information in the field provided. We have also included a section for you to add in your HMIS ID number. Please ensure that the HMIS ID number matches the HMIS ID number provided during the evaluation instrument cycle. This year, you will not be required to enter an expiration date, but you will be asked to verify the expiration year. Any grant awarded in the prior fiscal year 2016 CoC program funding process, this includes any CoC program, SHP, or Shelter Plus Care, that will expire in calendar year 2018 must appear on the GIW. It is important for any grants expiring in calendar year 2018 or later that have not been previously renewed in our CoC program competition to be displayed in the GIW. The fiscal year 2017 is the last opportunity to renew for any program that has not been renewed in previous competitions. If you are unsure whether this is applicable to your project, please contact the CoC team to further discuss this. For any changes to your projects that were completed between last year's NOFA cycle till now, you should have resulted in a grant amendment. If that has happened to your project, please be sure to provide a copy of the HUD amendment approval letter. On your screen, you will see the question that asks to upload any HUD approval letter. So you will have to click the Browse button and select the file from your computer. It is important to note that the only acceptable documents are a Word document, a PDF, or a text format, and that the maximum file is 1 megabyte. And then you will have to click Upload in order to upload the document. From what I did chat with Survey Gizmo, they have done some upgrading to this particular question. So I believe they have removed the click here to upload button. But just in the event that you do see that on your screen when you get to this question, just make sure to click that button. But for the majority of you should be able just to view the Browse button. So once you've selected your file, it should appear automatically on the screen. For any project receiving rental assistant budget line items, you must review and ensure that the information is accurate. Any changes will require you to complete the rental assistant worksheet and upload this sheet. If your project receives rental assistance and the unit configuration is blank, please ensure that you complete a rental assistance worksheet and upload that so we are able to verify those numbers. On your screen is a sample of the rental assistance worksheet. Please note that the county/fair market rate area is Chicago, Joliet, Naperville, Illinois. Also shown on the screen, if you click on the 2016 FMRS link in the worksheet, it will take you to the fair market rent summary system, which will be able to show you what the fair market rent is in our community. The rental assistant will auto-calculate based on the numbers of units provided in the worksheet. Survey Gizmo has been set up that you will have the option to save and continue later if you so desire. If you simply click on the top of the screen where it says click here to save and continue later, you will be prompted to submit an email address. Please make sure that that email address is accurate because once you send that link and close out of Survey Gizmo, an email will be sent out to that email address. Unfortunately, All Chicago is not able to send out any links that have already been sent out to incorrect email addresses. So we do encourage you to open up your email and make sure that you do receive that link from Survey Gizmo. We do recommend you check your junk folder because sometimes those emails from Survey Gizmo do end up in the junk folder. We do encourage you to review and ensure that you did receive the email prior to closing out the survey. At the end of the survey, you'll also have an opportunity to indicate any other issues in the GIW that have not been previously mentioned. This can mean that maybe 2 of your grants have been consolidated or perhaps there is a missing grant. So please make sure that you indicate those issues in this section. Before submitting your GIW confirmation survey, you will be prompted to review your PDF before clicking submit. We do encourage you that you save a copy of this PDF before completing your final submission. And we do encourage you to read it to ensure that you have accurately reported on your project for this GIW cycle. You will receive a confirmation email to the address entered within the survey. So please make sure that you do save this for your record and have it readily available in the event that All Chicago contacts you. Please note if you are entering an email address that is not your own, perhaps it is a colleague at your agency, please make sure that you touch base with your colleague to ensure that they receive the confirmation email. So a few reminders. This year, regarding shifting and adding funds, you may not make any changes to your project budget during the GIW process without prior approval from HUD, and that is the amendment letter. If you are currently in the stages and have requested to make an amendment, but it has not been official from HUD, please make sure that you do not include those new line items. You are only able to shift funds if you have that HUD approval letter. There are some acceptable changes that can happen during the GIW process. You may increase your admin cost. You may convert to from leasing to rental assistance. And you may change program components only if you are incorrectly classified. And I'll be going through those 3 acceptable changes in a few minutes. So in general, your admin costs should not change. And the admin cost will be shown in the column J. Now, all projects are permitted to request up to 10% in admin cost. However, any percent above 7% must be carved from existing budget line items. So your total annual renewal amount may not increase. Any project that is considering adjusting to increase to the 10% in admin costs may not reduce the number of units served to increase it. HUD cautions us to not carve any funds out of rental assistance or leasing budget line items. So please make sure that you do double check that prior to making that change. For any project considering changing from leasing to rental assistance, this is only available to projects renewing for the first time under the CoC program competition. So this does not apply to most of our CoC funded projects. If you are one that is considering changing from leasing to rental assistance, and this is your first time renewing under the CoC program competition, please contact us so we can ensure that your program is eligible and can provide you further guidance about this. So I do have a question from Maureen that asks where we can find the rental assistance worksheet. So we will be sending this out in a follow-up email after today's presentation, and it will be made available within the survey link in Survey Gizmo. So you'll be able to locate it in both sites in the event that you don't see the email. Okay. So there are only 2 scenarios where we are able to change program components. And the first one is for any projects with a supportive service line item that have no housing costs, such as rental assistance or leasing. So for projects that fall under this type, please make sure that you first review the fiscal year 2017 CoC program grant inventory worksheet instructions, page 5. There is a link available regarding a document that HUD has published that is titled, "Is my project a supportive services only or a housing project?" And it's a tool for the CoC program projects. The link is displayed on your screen, so we do encourage you to view this document in order to determine if this is applicable to you. If your agency feels that this is an appropriate switch for you, please contact the CoC team so we can provide further guidance regarding this matter. The second opportunity is for transitional housing projects that are renewing for the first time. These may be TH projects that were originally awarded under the Homeless Assistance Program, but that are currently having characteristics of a rapid rehousing project. So that means that your existing project design assist individuals and families move quickly from the streets or emergency shelters into a permanent community-based housing, that you are currently making supportive services available to meet the needs of the participants, but do not require participation in services outside of the case management, and currently allows program participants to retain the unit when the rental assistance or leasing or supportive services have ended. If your agency wishes to pursue one of these component changes, please contact the CoC program teams immediately for further assistance in this matter. So I received another question from Michael. He asked if the admin in your project is below 7%, let's say 7%, do we still need to take funds out of other areas in order to increase to the 7%, or can we increase to the 7%, meaning our total grant amount will increase? In the event that your project is not at the 7%, you may increase it to the 7% without carving out that additional from pre-existing line items. But if you would like to talk about this further, you may contact the CoC team for further guidance on this matter. Okay. So just a reminder regarding our deadline and submission. So a GIW confirmation survey must be submitted for each CoC project by 5 p.m. this Friday, April 21st. You must submit them online at the Survey Gizmo link provided on your screen. We do encourage everyone to review the HUD instructions manual for the grant inventory worksheet, and that link is displayed on your screen as well. In the email that we'll be sending up as a follow-up, we will include these links for easier access for everyone. So what happens after Friday? So once all the projects have submitted a GIW confirmation survey, again, remember it is one survey per each CoC funded project. All Chicago staff will review and confirm all the submissions, and we will make necessary changes that have been shown in the submissions. We will then ask all agencies to give a final confirmation of these changes prior to our submission to the local HUD office. So be on the lookout for Wednesday, April 26th. We will be sending out an email asking everyone to just take one final look up at that. And then finally, All Chicago will submit the final fiscal year 2017 GIW change forms to the local HUD office by May 4th. Okay, we have a couple of other questions. So I have Cindy asking if I will be the point person for any additional information. And yes, I will be the pinpoint person for any issues related to the GIW or any questions that you may have. So you can feel free to email me or you can email the CoC programs team. Both Renee and I will be looking at the CoC programs email just to ensure that you receive a prompt response to any questions that you may have. Lindsay asked if there is an opportunity to switch from the fair market rate to actual rent in the GIW process, therefore moving money out of the rental assistance into other categories. So, Lindsay, that is the GIW process is not the opportunity that we are able to do that. So unless you have received HUD approval to remove some money from the rental assistance budget line item into other categories, then you may be able to make those adjustments. But if you have not spoken with HUD about making that switch, you are unable to do that in the GIW stage. We have another question that asks, how do we do the changes on the GIW for projects that came money up? So I'm not sure I understand that question. If you do have some projects that may be increased in funding, so if the GIW is displaying perhaps an outdated total ARD amount and you've received an increase in the last fiscal year, please go ahead and note those changes. We would encourage you to submit a HUD grant execution document in order to verify that those numbers are accurate. So I have another question that Tom asked. If it's correct that we do not have to enter the number of bedrooms on the GIW grant worksheet, we are only checking that the projects are listed and that the amounts are correct. So Tom, that is correct. If you do not receive rental assistance, you do not have to indicate the number of units for that project. So only projects that have a rental assistance budget line item must ensure that their unit configuration number is accurate. So then we have another question. How do we make the changes on the GIW for projects that gave money up during the evaluation instrument process? Great question. So we will be providing further guidance to those projects that had voluntarily gave up some money for reallocation. So you will be receiving additional guidance on that. So just hold on to that question as we make sure that we guide you in the correct aspect of that. All right. So I think that's all the questions for the moment. So it looks like we are ahead of schedule, so we do have some chance to open it up for any Q&A besides the ones that we just went over. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand. Millicent and Tom, I know that you've had your hand up for quite some time, so I think you submitted your question into the chat box. So I'm going to go ahead and raise it down. But if you do have another question, just make sure that you raise it up. So if there's anyone else that has additional questions, oh, okay, Millicent, you do have an additional question. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you so you can ask your question. Hello?
All right, so I was wondering how soon are we going to get the guidance on those of us that gave up the money?
Yes, so here at All Chicago, we are currently working on that guidance, and you should be seeing something coming out relatively soon. So we will be aiming to send something out either by tomorrow, but definitely before the deadline.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any other additional questions? Feel free to raise your hand, or you can also use the chat box, and I can just read them out loud. All right, so it doesn't seem like we have any other additional questions, but if some do come to mind, feel free to email us at the CoC program's email address. Again, that email address is cocprograms@allchicago.org. We do encourage you to use the CoC program's email address because there are, we will be checking it between Renee, myself, and Dave here at All Chicago just to ensure that you do reserve a prompt response to any questions that you may have. Again, we would like to thank you for your attention and for attending this webinar and for complying with the really close turnaround time that we have. So thank you, and I hope everyone has a great day.